Welcome to the Shutter Saga Podcast. I'm your host, Marvin Blue. Join me each week as we dive into amazing conversations with some of our industry's top leaders. We will talk about photography, business, and most of all, share the stories that have laid the foundation to our journey in this world we call photography. A couple of ways to support the show is to like, subscribe, and share the show with others. Leave those 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and if you're a fan of seeing us live, we are on YouTube. Also, you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Again, thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show.
Welcome welcome all to another wonderful episode of the Shutter Saga Podcast. I'm your host, Marvin Blue. With me, my special guest this week is none other than Jenn Lewis. She comes to us from North Carolina. Jenn is an amazing, masterful senior photographer, educator. Most of all, she is a friend. Her and I go back for years now. We've met each other on the conference circuit and then just developed an amazing friendship. And over the years, she's always been there to give me sound advice on running a business, on just being a great person, a great individual. So I always aspire to be as warm-hearted as she is and still be funny and humble. So Jenn, thank you for coming on to the show this week.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Awesome. So let's get right into it, because everyone likes to always ask the atypical questions. But all right, what brand are you shooting with? Because I never asked that, and I said I'm gonna start asking that. So,
so I photograph with Canon. So I've got an R5 and an R6.
All right. So for all you people that are non-Canon shooters, I shoot Canon as well. But for you non-Canon people, don't cut off the episode. Okay, it's still gonna be a good episode. I know you guys immediately are mad that she's not shooting your brand. Get over it. Sorry, Sony. Now you're known as a senior photographer. Is that where you originally started at, or did you kind of evolve into that? What was the journey that got you over to what you're doing now today?
I think so many of us, when we start out, we start shooting anything anybody will pay us for, because we're just trying to make money. I remember when I first started, I've been in business, it'll be 17 years next month. And I remember the first big purchase I wanted to make was some Tamron lens, and it was like $450. And I was like, oh gosh, I'm going to have to shoot and, take people's money to be able to make enough money to afford that. Now I would kill to have a lens that was only $450 that was actually decent quality. But anyway, so yeah, wait, what was the question? I didn't take my Adderall today, Marvin. I'm sorry.
It's all good. So we'll ease into this. So what got you to seniors, or how did you start out with seniors? Did you evolve into?
So I photographed everything in the beginning, and I guess I started specializing in seniors in about 2014. And basically what took me there is my kids were small when I first started. My youngest was a year old when I first started my business. And so my other boys were like 3 and 6. So they were all small, and I was used to being around babies and toddlers and families with little kids and that kind of thing. And as my boys grew up, I was less used to being around small children, and my patience for them grew thin. And I did not want to photograph newborns or, toddlers, anything involving small children. So to this day, like the rule in my studio, no kids allowed under 5. And that's like a real rule. So my studio is not kid friendly. There are breakable things. There are things they could trip over. There are, so no kids under 5 allowed. I don't want to photograph them anyway. It's a very special circumstance if you see me photograph a small child, and there's a special reason for that. But for seniors, as my boys grew up, I have 3 boys, and when they're raised the same way in the same household consistently, and they are so different from each other. They are 3 completely different personalities, and I began to see like how unique kids are, even growing up in the exact same environment and exact same parenting and all of that stuff. Although maybe I was a little tired by the time the third one came around, but growing up the same way and being such different kids. And I really want to capture that for the seniors, like who they are as a person, because they're all different. And the only thing I see right now when I'm seeing seniors being photographed is, the girls in the white dress in a field. And I'm like, they can't all be the exact same person. I know there are some obviously that have similar personalities and likes and things like that, but these kids are unique and they should be photographed in unique ways. And whatever their interests are and showing that. So I really try to dig in when they say, oh, I was thinking maybe we could go to this park nearby. They'll name one of the local parks. And I'm like, we could. And I mean, that park's pretty, but let's talk about like, what would you do on a Saturday that you had free and you could do anything you wanted? And they're like, oh my gosh, I love going to this coffee shop with my friends every Saturday morning. And I'm like, let's go shoot at that coffee shop. That's part of your life and part of who you are. You've been to this park you were talking about 3 times ever. Like, let's go shoot at the coffee shop. Let's go, what else would you do? Well, I love shopping. Well, let's go down to the shops and bring some of your shopping bags and let's do some cute stuff and wear one of your favorite outfits from one of those boutiques and, that kind of thing. And I really, really enjoy, I think a lot of it is, it's not just for them. I tell them it's for them, but it's really for me. I'd be bored out of my mind if I was doing the same thing with every kid that came in the door. So I just think it's really important to capture those unique traits and personalities of high school seniors. So it's definitely, I'm doing what I love for sure.
Nice. So when you talk about changing things up, being creative, gauging, what is it, what's your approach in going that route, with finding those seniors, trying to find those opportunities to create something different?
I meet with every senior who books with me. Before they book, we do an in-person consultation. So when they inquire, my goal is to get them in the studio for an in-person consultation and we just sit and talk. And I mean, typically, I tell them, typically they last, at least 45 minutes, but sometimes I'll sit and talk with them, especially if it's one of those, mom and kid, combinations that I just click with. Like we'll sit and talk for 2 hours and I just get to know them. I want to know about them and what their interests are. And like, oh, she's been doing gymnastics since she was 8. That's something that we should definitely incorporate in her session if that's something, that she wants to show. And, or she's really into theater or things like that. So I just really want to know about that kid, what makes them tick, what their interests are, what they're going to miss most about being in high school. So sometimes we want to show those things that they're going to be doing in college. She's a swimmer and now she's going to go swim at college, so we want to make sure we incorporate that. But it could be she's been in gymnastics since she was 8 and this is going to be her last year doing gymnastics. So we want to capture that. So she has those images in her album and, maybe on her walls that she's got to remember those years of being in gymnastics. So just talking to them. And Gen Z they're really big on collaboration. They want to be part of the planning. They don't want you to just show up with a camera and be like, hey, meet me at this park and I'll take some pictures of you. They want to be part of that planning process. They're very big on collaboration. And so asking them those questions makes them feel important. It makes them feel like part of the process. And they really enjoy that part. And I think a lot of senior photographers are missing that, because they're not, they're doing everything. They're like just in this like routine, like this is how I always do it, and they're not talking to the kids and they're not getting to know them before the shoot. And if they're shoot and burn photographers, as opposed to doing in-person sales and things like that, they're probably not meeting for a consultation. They're literally seeing them for the first time at that park they decided to meet them at. And that's the first time they're seeing them in person. Maybe they're sending a form online for them to fill out and tell them what they're interested in, maybe, but a lot of times, that's it, if that. And so I pride myself on developing these relationships with these kids and just getting to know them.
Nice. So did you find yourself having to kind of evolve your approach over the years? I mean, because 17 years, I mean, there's obviously been changes. You couldn't do everything from day one to today doing it the same. So did you see any pivots that you had to make in your approach to things?
Absolutely. I don't know why you don't think I was amazing from day one, but 17 years ago, 17 years ago, I was shoot and burning for $55 a session and giving them like 150 photos for $55.
I think we all did that. I mean, come on. You mean to tell me did you have the branded DVD that you would burn it onto the disc for?
Yeah, well, it wasn't branded. It was generic, man. It was it was so terrible.
Oh no, I spent money. I remember literally spending money. I don't mean to cut you off. I spent money on getting these branded DVDs that had my old company logo on it and my name on there and everything. It had my website at the bottom and the phone number. I was like so proud of these things. And I remember like, okay, good. I'm set. I bought 250 of these things. I'm good for the next couple of years. I can't wait. I'm excited. And then Pass was created literally 2 weeks later. And I went from having these DVDs that were branded to, oh my gosh, we have an
And
app now. You got to use this app now. And I was like, all right. And I jumped on the Pass bandwagon. Then I went to Pixie Set. But then I was like, I still remember recently when I was cleaning out some old stuff, I saw a few of those DVDs, and I just the nostalgia of, wow, I've come so far from the DVD branded and the cars from Vistaprint. Like, I wish I kept all that stuff for like in a scrapbook to kind of show the growth of
Mhm.
where I'm at. But when, like, it's funny because I think about my first time meeting you, and it was basically we got put into a karaoke lip syncing contest that you had to perform in reluctantly.
Yay. I've wiped that from my memory, like the little Men in Black thing. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I should have done that to everybody there after that fiasco.
No, I remember they were like, hey, you need to do like a song they were like asking me to do. I was like, all right. And I did something just to, like, all right, we're going to put you in. What do you want to sing? And I was like, dude, I don't know. And they're like, you got to do something. I was like, all right, I'll do Little Nas X. And I think he had just came out with that song and everything. So it was like, everyone's like, maybe that song only been a few weeks old, and I just did it, and I didn't know that was gonna be like the song of the year, which was hilarious. And you just saw like my curly hair, because my hair was longer. I was just flinging like my
Yeah.
watered down hair, or whatever, in the crowd. It was hilarious. But I think I remember there was a girl in a wheelchair, like she was wearing a bustier, and I was just like, well, this is gonna be interesting.
Yep.
Because she
I
like rips the
remember
shirt off,
that
and I
one.
was like, well, I've lost. And then somebody jokingly said, well, as they go, is it wrong that I'm kind of turned on right now? I said, dude, don't say that. It was just like, the entire competition was both a shit show and hilarious at the same time. Because Jason was like,
Yep.
this is a great idea, and by the end of it, he was like, I can't unsee some of the shit that I've seen today. So, and I was,
Seriously.
yeah, but it was good times though. I'm like, that's how we met though. We met in the conference circuit, and just I've always just seen your willingness to give and not gatekeep the information. And I mean, that's one thing I've, anytime when someone has told me what they want to learn or who they, interested in learning, always your name pops up. I say, because she will not gatekeep. She'll give you so much information. Like, you just got to be ready to digest it. That's the trickery. So, with that being said, like, on the education side of things, how have you been able to kind of manage that education? Because you do give so much information and you do teach so much and to so many people. How have you been able to, manage that wing of your career?
That's a good question. I don't sleep. I wear a cape. My superhero cape is under my shirt. No,
Sweet.
because I'm a one man band. So, like, I don't have employees in my business. It's just me. So, I have spoken at somewhere between like 10 and 13 speaking gigs a year, except for 2020, since 2019. And it's this year I decided to cut it in half because it was too much. But then I was taking on things that were like, like Texas school that's like a week long. So I'm like, that still
Yep.
felt like 3, even though I cut the number down. So anyway, so yeah, I'm just I really enjoy teaching. Like, I can't just say no. I enjoy teaching. I remember where I was when I started out, and I was shooting burning for for pennies. Like, I was literally losing money, and I just want to take everybody by the hand and be like, don't do it that way. Trust me. Do it this way. This is what works. Come on, come with me. Leave that behind, and here are the cliff notes. This is what to do to have a successful business, and don't spend all the years that like I did doing that, that method that's gonna make you bitter and burn the candle at both ends and all that stuff. So I just really enjoy teaching. And a lot of people, they ask me, they're like, oh, did you ever think about being a teacher? I'm like, no, because kids don't necessarily want to be in school. But if photographers are coming to learn from me, they want to be there, they want to learn. So I like teaching people who want to be there and people who want to learn. So it's something that is just part of who I am. And it's something that was difficult for me at first, as you and I have talked about before. I'm an introvert, big time. I am definitely afraid of large crowds of people I don't know. So I can get up on a stage and talk about things that I practice, things that I do, things that I know will help people. But at the same time, if you put me in the middle of that crowd at a party, I'm terrified. So it took a little while to get to where I felt comfortable, doing things like that. But it's worth it. It's worth the payoff, because when I'm at other, Shutterfest, like I was at Shutterfest this year, and it was just like this, I don't know. It was like this thing that started happening in one of my classes. Somebody was asking me about something, and I said, actually, that's something. It was off topic. And she was like, I know this is off topic, but I wanted to ask you. And it was about something I was going to be talking about in my sales class the next night. And I said, actually, that's something I'll be teaching tomorrow night. If you don't have a plan for that class period, I would love for you to come. And somebody stood up and she said, I just want to say, go to Jenn's class if you're even considering it, and she said, and I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was something like, my average sale before I took her class last year was like $400, and now it's $2,000. And she's like, that was literally just from her class. And then somebody else stood up and she said, I've been coming to Shutterfest all 10 years, and her class was the best class that I've taken at Shutterfest in 10 years. And then all these other, and like people were standing up and saying, and I was trying not to cry, because I was like, it's amazing to know that I've been able to help people like that, because you don't always hear the end result. You see them in class, you answer their questions, you guide them. You might answer a question, and I've got a photography Facebook group. I might answer questions in there once in a while, but I don't always get to hear that success story. And so that keeps me going when I hear those.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, I can attest to that. So I've taken a few of your classes. I've seen you over the years. And again, it is a wealth of knowledge that it literally is like worth the price of admission. So I definitely know where they're coming from with that. So in your early days, when you were first starting out, who were the ones that influenced Jenn 17 years ago when you were holding that camera and you were trying to grow or go beyond that? Do you remember your first camera, by the way?
I still have my first camera, but my first camera
What?
was my dad bought me my first camera when I was a kid. I had a Minolta X700. So he bought me my first SLR. I was 10. So I have pictures of me with this camera, this big camera, because I was 10. And I have pictures of me with this big camera hung around my neck. So I still have that one. My first camera in business, I don't have anymore. But that was a Canon 20D. So that was my first one. I bought it used, and that was my first business camera. I went like 20D to 50D, and then went into the 5D series. So, but yeah, I guess I'm trying to think, like, there were a lot. So for those who are new and don't realize this, back when I started 17 years ago, we didn't have Facebook and Facebook groups, and there was no, for what I knew, there were forums and things like that, but there weren't easy ways to find out about education and conferences and things like that. So I didn't know about a lot of that stuff. I was in business maybe 4 years before I went to my first conference and started meeting other photographers and finding out about that whole world outside of my little town where nobody wanted to share any information. And so, my first, I guess when I first started going to conferences and things like that, it was, gosh, that's a long time ago, Marvin, as my uncle would say, I've slept since. For things like shooting, as far as shooting and learning, and things like that, Jordan Chan, who unfortunately passed away earlier this year, Jordan Chan was one of my first mentors. He was in North Carolina, and I remember, getting to go out, like we were good friends. And so I got to go out and I met him at a conference he was teaching at. And then I sort of clung on to him. He didn't have a choice. And he would have told you that too. He tried to get away, but anyway, he was incredible with light. Like he was so lighting and posing. He was incredible. So I would go out to his place and, go on shoots with him and hold his lights. I went and helped him. He was shooting a video for a wedding, and I went and helped him with that. And anyway, yeah, absolutely incredible. And then Jason Group was the other one. So Jason is my best friend to this day. He never got rid of me either. Actually, I think that was more like I couldn't get rid of him. But Jason was my hero when it came to wedding photography. His wedding photography, it was more than just, the lighting and posing and all that stuff. It was, he caught the emotions of his couples, like those really emotional moments and stuff. Like you felt like you were there. And
Mm.
so I was still shooting weddings back then. So I really, really looked up to Jason, but he also taught me a lot about lighting and things like that. So they were my two heroes and mentors as I came up in the industry.
Now, real quick question: was Jason wearing the bow ties back then?
Yep, he sure
Okay?
was.
So the bow tie's always been a thing because someone's like, "Did he
Oh
just start
yeah.
doing?" I'm like, I think he's been doing it since day one. But you would have good
Yep.
information to let us know if he had it or not. That's awesome.
Yep. And
Nice.
when I very first met him, I don't think he was, but he wore them. But I don't think he was wearing it when I met him.
Okay.
But he did wear them back then, though. Yes.
Okay. Because like the bow ties have been part of his trademark of like, yeah, he's the bow tie
Oh yeah.
photographer. But
Yep.
nice. So you were breaking out before there was the Creative Lives, before there was the YouTube education and everything that we used back in the day. Because like it's so funny because I talk to new photographers today, and I'm always curious how they're learning, what they learned from or whatever. And some will say,
Mhm.
but like you don't hear them say Creative Live anymore, or they may say, "Oh, I follow this person on YouTube," and then I just went down a rabbit hole, which to this day I still do. But it's just so crazy that it's changed over the years to where I started out it was Creative Live and it was YouTube, and it was
Mhm.
joining the Tuesday Together groups, or Rising Tide, finding who had
Right.
meetings, the weekly meetings or whatever, and just trying to show up and network the old school way where you shook hands and you passed out business cards and everything. So now it's you have having fans or having a fan base or having people that follow you and you've never met them, and having your reach expand the US and beyond. What's that like managing that as far as like, you have an education platform that is beyond just North and South Carolina, but throughout the US and throughout the world even.
Right. Um, it's difficult to manage it because I run a full-time business. I am not one of the photographers, and there are a lot out there who make most of their money in education. That is not me. I run a full-time business. And so people are sending me messages or posting in my group or things like that. And I want to help everybody. That's the hard part is I want to help them all. And, my income from education is probably like 5% of my income. Like it's a very small percentage. And I always wanted, when I was coming up in the industry and I was learning from people, I didn't want to learn from people who made their money in education. I wanted to learn from
Mm.
people who were walking the walk at the time, not I used to do this and now I just teach. Like I wanted it to be somebody who could, because there are current things that happen. Things happen, things change, whether it's the economy or whatever, trends, especially in senior photography, or wedding photography, like trends are changing, things are changing. And I always wanted to learn from the people who are currently in the trenches, not somebody who shot weddings for 10 years and now they're teaching it, so that's me. I'm a full-time photographer, so it can be hard to manage, but that's why I started my Facebook group. So my Facebook group, it's a free group. It's, if people ask me for, if they ask me for advice that's more than I can answer in a Facebook post, I'm going to tell them to book a mentoring session. So it's, there is that, but it's more because I had to protect my time. I realized before I started mentoring and charging for mentoring, I was spending about 20 hours a week answering questions for people. And that's so much time that I was in because I still have to do my job. So that was taking away from my kids. I wanted to be with my kids in those 20 hours a week. So I was like, I have to do something. And it's not for me, it's, it wasn't about a money grab to like, oh, I'm going to start charging people for this. It was, I can't spend 20 hours a week mentoring people for free. I can't. And I was consistently spending that time. I kept track of it for a while and I was like, I have to do something different. And people who value what I have to teach, they pay it happily, because I don't charge an astronomical amount for mentoring, but, I have to be paid for my time. So it's been a balance. But again, I love teaching, I love sharing, and I don't want to stop. So I just have to, I do like 2 workshops a year, one in my studio, one on location. And other than that, I'll do, I go to state organizations and, the national conferences and things like that, wherever they want me. So, but I
It
also
seems like
think sales is a thing because that's what I teach mostly is sales. And I think it's really important.
you mentioned something earlier with seniors or with senior photography changing. What have been some of the trends that stand out to you the most in senior photography in your senior photography career as a whole?
Oh gosh, that's a big question. I would say, you mean like trends as far as what the photographers are doing or what seniors want, or what do you mean?
Both. I mean, like what are things that stick out? Like, I mean, like with photography, like I remember with wedding photography, they said what was one of the cringiest things that you saw in wedding photography that you're glad kind of died out. And I said, color selection. I,
Yeah,
I was
sure.
like, that was like when I first started, that was like everyone's thing. They loved it. And I hated it because I thought it was, it reminded me of the big ruffled shoulders or the super high
Yeah.
big bangs, the 1980s big bangs pictures or the ruffled shoulder wedding dress pictures, whatever. That's what
Yep.
that's the category that I put the color selection in. I want to be black and white, but I want my lips to be red. I want my bouquet to be in color, but I want everything else black and white. And I'm like, dude, I hate that so much. Like, but again, that's what they paid for. We gave it to them. But what are things in
Yep.
seniors that you saw that are like, oh God, please make this end, or you know what, this is going to be around for a very long time, and I got to lean into it.
I think it honestly was like probably trends of like clothing trends that were just annoying. Like the cold shoulder tops that were like off the shoulder because you can't raise their shoulder up because their sleeve wouldn't stay down. So you couldn't pose them you couldn't pose them in any way of like raising their arms up. But also if you photograph them from here up, they look naked. So you always had to like make sure that their top was showing because otherwise it would look like implied nudity. And that's not good for seniors. So, but probably like clothing trends that were annoying. As far as I guess just some of the like retouching, like the cross processing retouching that kind of gave it that like green grungy sort of look, like the textured green grungy look, like that stuff. I'm so glad not to see that anymore. So I'm a big believer, and I'm really ready for all the I'm definitely a true color. I want things to look real. So, I'm definitely ready for some of the, browns and yellows and all that stuff to go away because I just think, the color is what's timeless, like real color. The other stuff, people are going to be able to look at it and be like, yeah, that was shot somewhere around 2010, right? Because that's what was trending then and that kind of thing. So, but yeah, I'm probably offending so many people who shoot and use presets that make but I just
Somebody's
I
throwing their
can't get
monitor right now going, oh, to hell with Jen. This is gonna last forever. This is my signature edit.
Yep. I mean, if people like it, that's great. And I play once in a while. I'll play with, an edit or something on an image. But it's never, I always go back to that, that real color. Like if anything, I'll go black and white sometimes, but that's about it. Like to me, it's a trend. It's, and playing with colors and making them pop and stuff like that. Like I love doing that, but yeah, I still want it to be, pretty true to color. So.
Well, congratulations. Presets are being deleted as we speak, and people are redoing their profiles for after shoot and Imagine because of you. They're like, I'm never using this again. Oh, shots fired. You're gonna get my podcast canceled. How dare
Can you say you didn't want to be controversial of anything?
I thought I wasn't being controversial. I was just asking about trends. You just shitted on an entire genre of senior photography. Nah, that's awesome. I'm pretty sure I did the same thing because there's a bride who's got the ruffled shoulders. She's like, you know what? I was gonna hire him for my daughter's wedding. Fuck that guy.
Yep.
Well, since we're on the controversial track, I know you got the stories. Like, have you ever dealt with the crazy parents? With the seniors and everything?
The only time I ever had one that was like legit, like batshit crazy. Can I say that on here? Sorry. I'm trying to remember. She came in for the ordering session. So dad had come in with the daughter and the parents were, I'm trying to remember if they were married or divorced, but dad had come in with a daughter for the consultation. Daughter came by herself for the shoot. And the first time I met mom was at the ordering session. And all of this, and I've been sending them the product menu to be able to look over at home and all this stuff. Nobody had ever showed mom the prices. And so when it came time for the order, and I didn't know this, like, I've showed them at the consultation, sent it to them, after the shoot, sent it to them again, like, hey, go ahead and prepare for your ordering session. And nobody ever showed mom. I didn't know that. So she comes in and she literally starts screaming at me at the top of her lungs in my studio, like as we're sitting down to order. When she looks at the product menu, she starts screaming and about my prices and all this stuff. And the poor girl, her daughter was so embarrassed. And the dad like gets the mom up and was like, please, like, come outside with me and let's talk. So he was just trying to get her out of my studio because she was screaming like a wild person. So anyway, he got her calmed down. She, if I remember correctly, I think mom ended up just leaving. And so dad stayed there. He placed an order, but then he was like, I can't pay for it tonight. I'll have to pay for it, next week. I was like, whatever. At that point, I didn't even care. I was like, that's fine. I don't touch anything until the order's paid. And they left and they never did order that album. So that's probably the only one. Other than that, I mean, I have moms who, and they know it too. They're
They
a
live
little
vicariously through the
overbearing.
kids. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're like, I'll get the ones that are like, oh, not that smile, your real smile. But I tell them at the consultation, I'm like, especially if I can tell mom might be like this, I'll say, if mom's saying something during the consultation, trying to tell her daughter what to say or something like that. And, I look at the daughter and I get real close to her and I say, listen, I'm here for you and only you. I was like, we're going to make sure mom gets the pictures she wants, but I want you to be happy. If you need me to tell her to take a hike, let me know. I will make sure mom's taken care of. And then they both laugh. And then mom will usually say, oh gosh, yeah, sometimes I get a little, and I'm like, okay, just remember during the session, if you start affecting her mood, I'm going to send you to the car for something I don't actually need. I'm going to hand you my keys and say, when you go to the car and get that black thing in the trunk, and that's going to be your sign to take a walk for a while. And they're usually like, oh my gosh. And then during the session, if they even get a little bit like that, I look at them and I'm like, do I need to send you to the car? And they're like, you know what? No, I'm just going to walk over here. I'm like, good idea. Go walk over there. Let me get her photos because, there are some kids who are going to act a lot different and be a lot more comfortable if it's just me and mom's not there. And then there are others who love having their mom there. So when the kids ask me like, who do you want me, who should I bring to my session? I'm like, you bring your mom, you bring your best friend, bring your mom and your best friend, whoever makes you comfortable and happy. Like, that's what I want. So I don't care who, don't bring an entire army because, sometimes we shoot indoor places and don't have room for everybody. But, I'm like, I don't, you can bring mom, you can bring your best friend, you can bring them both, whatever. But I want you to have supportive people there who are going to just love on you and make you feel great. So.
Yeah, I've had the seniors that brought the entourage. They got the mom and the grandma, aunts and uncles, and grandpas, and I got like those are those times I get nervous because I've got a crowd of 8 to 12 people just watching me take pictures of this kid, and I'm like, oh man, this is weird because it's like they're looking at you, they're looking at her, and you can hear the commentary, and you're like, oh, and you're trying to get out of your head and not lose yourself in that moment and be focused on your senior, but it's like, man. And then I've had some where the hilarious one was they had their adult beverages and they were following around and drinking. And by the end of the shoot, which was 90 minutes, 2 outfit changes, 90 minutes, she did 3 outfit changes in the course of the 90. By the end of that 90 minutes, I was looking at her like, do you need me to give you a ride? Because mom was it was mom and the aunt. They got sloshed.
Wow.
Because they were making their drinks and I didn't realize they were drinking so much, and I guess they had a heavy pour in those Stanley cups of theirs. That's what I always say when I see women with Stanley cups. I'm like, I hope it's water because I'm thinking she's just chugging water. It was a warm day in Texas. I'm thinking they're just chugging water. By the end of it, like, nah, mom was drunk, and I was like trying to keep a straight face, like, you are drunk, lady. We need to get you some carbs right now.
Right. No kidding. Wow. I don't think I've ever had any moms drinking during the senior shoot. So that's funny.
Yeah. I was like, oh, day drinking. Okay. I guess we're getting this early start. I was just like, well, you're going to college, you might as well get used to it. You're going to see this a lot in college. But nah, that was just
Right.
one of those. It rarely happens. Like I think I count on one hand how many times it's actually happened or whatever. Obviously I've seen drunk couples and drunk family members at weddings all the time. That
Right.
comes with the territory.
Oh yeah,
But
I
when
don't
you
miss that
when
at
you
all.
when you see that at senior such, you're like, whoa, this is a man. Y'all are throwing it back there. And I was like, mom is
Right.
done.
Yeah.
She's like, you look so pretty, baby. I was like, oh, she's drunk. I was like, please stop. We can see it. We can't even hide it anymore. We need to get you to Chili's. Let's get you a triple play or something. Nice. So I didn't even know you were at Texas School this year. How was it? Was this your first time teaching there?
It's my first time ever being there. So,
oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, they keep us busy as instructors for sure. So it was teaching all day and events every single night. So it was a very busy schedule. So for an introvert, that was a little on the tough side because no downtime, and your social battery, if you're an introvert, is done after an 8-hour class, and then you've got to go to a party, which is even more draining on an introvert than class. So it was a lot, but it was a good time. I had a good class, good group of people, and it was a lot of fun. I have several friends who teach there every year, so it was fun hanging out with them. And World Cup was at the beginning. The photographic World Cup was at the beginning of the week, so got to see some friends. Dan McClanahan and Ben Shirk were in there for that, and they're two good friends of mine. So we got to hang out with them for a couple of days, which is it was an extra bonus, getting to do that. So yeah, it was a really good week.
Nice. Yeah, I tried to come out to go see you guys during that week while you were there because I know you were there. Andre, God, who else? Just Audrey was there. So it's like a few people that I know that were going to be there. And I was just like, that week was so stacked. And I think we were just coming off of Shutterfest a couple weeks prior to that. And I think I want to say it was during prom season too. So I was doing a lot of stuff between my daughter's school and then just I was like, this year's senior season for me was very much rushed because one, my daughter wasn't supposed to graduate this year. She's supposed to graduate next year. So she graduated a year early. So we did everything for her senior year. Like, right. We were doing all that then. And then it was, they saw the pictures of her. So all her friends, like, we got to get your dad to do my pictures. And then it was just like, man, it was like, there's a whole wing of like, I didn't realize financially, business wise, there's a whole wing that I can really embrace if I lean into it and really create a senior model that works for my business. Because I still love weddings. I don't know when I'm going to ever stop shooting weddings because I enjoy the adrenaline rush, the torture that I put myself through to nail these weddings. And it's just, I love that grind. And I haven't got enough of it yet, and I haven't got to that point where I'm tapped out of it. But I know down the road, portraits is going to be where I'm going to fall back on. And I have a blast doing seniors, and it was, again, a growth for me this year. But yeah, I thought it was really cool. And just to see the reaction that I was getting from her friends and just because it's always, for me, seniors has always been, I get one because the bride has a younger sister that's a senior, or it's a relative, or it's a friend of the family, or it's a bride's coworker. Her manager has a son that's graduating. So that's where I've always gotten it from. But what I like about it is the seniors never pulled any punches on whether they like something or not. So I've always loved that challenge that kids are going to be honest with you, and they'll tell you if they think they like it or don't like it. And I've done some where I thought I knocked it out the park. It looks amazing. Mom and dad are happy, but the senior's like, yeah, it doesn't you just see her making a face, but you're like, you don't like it, do you? She's like, I don't like these. And I'm like, but you look great. She's like, I think, my parents said I look great, but I don't like it. And I'm like, okay, we're going to reshoot. And I'm all about it. We'll reshoot. This session was for your parents. This next one is going to be all for you, and I love that challenge that it gives me. Like, have you ever come across like those challenges where, now you're being tested because it's almost like seniors it's almost like they're kids, they're afraid to speak up. But have you ever been challenged as a photographer like that?
Not that I can recall.
Okay.
I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I do get to know the kids so well. I ask them, and they don't always do it, but I ask them. I'm like, hey, especially if there are some that they're they say they're picky about the style or things like that. I'll say, hey, when you see posts either on my Instagram, my website, or even somewhere else, and you like it, send it to me. Give me an idea of what you like, because I'm not gonna abandon my style. I'm not gonna shoot with those like brownish yellow presets or anything like that. But I am, but I can, I have I think a different, like my style will, kind of like a chameleon, depending on what kind of mood I'm in or what kind of location we're shooting. Like I'll kind of go, push the envelope a little bit as far as the different styles and stuff. So if it's something that, if a girl's like, I really love these, I can, like I said, I'm not, as far as my, color grading and things like that, that's not going to change for anybody. But as far as like the style we shoot, if they like the, kind of wild and free hair wind blown across their face, like I'll run with that stuff. It doesn't all have to be pretty and perfect and posed, but if they want it to all be pretty and perfect and posed, I can do that too. So I always just, I credit that to getting to know them and what they're into and that kind of thing. So then I'm not surprised by that. Like I know they're going to like them. So, and I've never reshot. I feel like I should knock on something. I'm not even superstitious, but I've never reshot for a client or anything like that. I've never needed to. I've had times that I felt like, one of the things, like, because I always customize my sessions to every kid that comes in. I'm talking to them. I'm getting to know like what, if they play instruments, if they're in clubs, if they're involved in their church, if they play sports, because I want to make the session about them. And I remember one specific one, and I still talk about this sometimes when I teach. I remember one specific girl that, when I'm talking to her, she was literally the most boring child on the planet. Like she had no interests. She had no, no hobbies, no nothing. She's like, oh, I don't know. I just like to hang out. And I'm like, give me something. Like, and then she's like, I just really want cool and unique photos. I'm like, well, then give me some sort of inspiration. You could tell me you play the flute. I'll make you look like a badass, but like, I need some inspiration. But she had literally nothing and she had no personality. So it wasn't even like getting her personality like big and happy or whatever, it was nothing. And I remember doing her photos and I didn't have those epic shots. I mean, I did what I could with lighting and the locations and stuff like that, but I'm used to having those really epic shots that have to do with their interest, what they're all about. And I didn't really have anything like that because she didn't have any interest and she had zero personality. And I remember thinking in my head, how am I going to word this? Do I offer them a complete reshoot? Do I offer them, whatever? Like, cause I'm thinking they're going to be like, seriously. And so I'm like trying to think of what I'm going to offer them when they're disappointed in these photos. And we come in for the ordering session and mom and dad and the daughter on the couch and the slideshow starts playing and mom and dad start crying. And mom and dad start crying. And I was like, are they crying because these are terrible? Like, what's happening right now? They were blown away because no matter, they know their daughter's boring. Okay. They know she doesn't have a lot of things to inspire a photographer, but like, it's their daughter. They love this little girl who is growing up, becoming a woman, going off to college, doing all these big things. That's their daughter. And so no matter how much I feel like I screwed up the shoot, it wasn't my fault. I mean, there was nothing I did wrong. And like, but I had it in my head. I'm like, I'm going to have to reshoot. This is going to be the first time I ever have to reshoot because I just didn't get anything amazing. And, and they absolutely loved them. So, and they spent well too. So I was blown away because I really thought I was going to have to reshoot that one, but thankfully it didn't go that way.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad you're able to tap into that and really bring out, like, again, at the end of the day, it's about the images that we create and what we do for our clients. And if they walk away with a smile on their face, then we did it. Even though there may have been a painful road to get there, we still were able to pull it off. So that's the beauty of what we do. Last question before we wrap it up. What is the what's next for Jenn?
Business or education or both or what?
Business, education, photography. Like, you got any like locations that you've been dying to shoot at coming up on the pipeline? Like, what's going on? What's next for you?
Yeah, so I actually have a ton of things going on, which is a little overwhelming. So I have a couple destination sessions coming up this summer. So I'm shooting in Nashville with one of my seniors in August, and it's like the second weekend in August. We're going to Nashville. We're staying at the Graduate Hotel. And I've already called them. We're able to shoot in there. If you have not Googled or looked up the Graduate Hotel. It's Dolly Parton inspired hotel in Nashville, and it is the cutest hotel on earth. And I've been dying to shoot there for, I guess, at least a couple of years now. As soon as I heard about it, like one of my friends told me, and, he's like, oh, you got to check this place out. So I looked it up, and I've been in love with that place ever since. So I'm super excited to finally get to shoot there. So we're going to stay there, shoot there. We're going to shoot all weekend around Nashville and stuff like that. So I love booking destination sessions for my seniors. I got to do one in Savannah a few months back, and it was awesome as well. Like I love doing those. So, and then I've got another one down at the coast at the end of August, Labor Day weekend. I'll be down at the coast shooting that. So that'll be fun. So I got things I'm really excited about for that stuff. And I have an arrival. I don't know if you've seen it on Facebook, but I have an arrival coming in this weekend. It should be here, I think, on Saturday. I bought a bus. Did you see any of the posts about that, Marvin?
I did not. I'm like peeking over to look at it right now. Like,
I was gonna say, I don't know how you missed that, man. It was I did a Facebook Live the other day to announce it because very few people knew before.
Yeah, I see the bus now. Oh wow.
Yeah,
nice.
So I bought a bus. Put this on the list of things I never thought I'd purchase on a whim. I found it like a week before, and I texted her, and I'm like, I think I need this. So I drove to Missouri this past weekend and bought a bus. So yeah, it's a mini bus. So it's going to be a mobile photo booth for weddings, grad parties, anniversary parties, birthday parties, whatever, corporate events, whatever people are going to have. So it's going to be, and I don't want to give away any details about it, but it's going to be a different kind of photo booth than people have seen before. So I'm super excited. I'm not giving any of that away yet. You'll see that soon enough. So anyway, it's going to be a mobile photo booth, mobile photo studio, possibly a mobile headshot station. And then as well as like a mobile changing room. So I've got curtains that go in the bus. So it'll be a mobile changing room for my girls while we're driving around to different locations. They can go in the air conditioned bus, have plenty of room. So it'll be better than my changing tent I pop up in the 100-degree heat in North Carolina.
God.
So
yeah.
So it'll so they'll have the back of the bus like with, like I said, curtains and air conditioning, and they can go in there and freshen up their makeup and their hair and change their clothes and chill out for a minute and that kind of thing. So I think it'll be really good for that. So a lot of plans for the bus. So I'm super excited about it. I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be amazing for marketing because it's going to get
your road trip
attention.
coming in this thing. I'm waiting on like the road trip here, the road show. We're going to teach senior photography throughout the U.S. We're going to do 16 cities, like, and you're living on the bus, and that's a
you never
YouTube,
know.
That's a YouTube show in the making right there. The van life / half of it you live in, the other half is
the only issue I have with that is I only camp in Marriotts. I don't camp in buses, but I don't have room for a full bathroom in there or anything. So, but yeah, you never know though. I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's the funny thing is I don't have like a lot of spare time. I do in the summer because I don't shoot outdoors in the summer. So in the summer, I'm just shooting my headshots. That's the other part of my business is headshots. And so I photograph a ton of actors. Last year, I think I had somewhere of right over 75 actors in my studio last year. And I think I've probably had half that at least already this year. So I'm on track to do that or more this year. And so yeah, I photograph a lot of actors. So that's pretty much the only thing I do in the summer. Other than that, I am just in my pool all day, every day. So
nice. Is there anyone you can name drop as far as actors?
I'm sorry?
Is there anyone you can name drop as far as actors that you've had the pleasure of doing headshots for?
Sure. So I've been photographing. So as far as names, because none of them are the like huge movie star actors. But did you watch She-Hulk on Disney Channel Plus?
I watched some of it, yeah.
Okay, so I've photographed for about 12 years now. I photographed Drew Matthews, who played Dennis Bukowski, who is the like douchebag lawyer that everybody hated in The Office. So anyway, I've been photographing, and he's been in a ton of stuff. Small roles, but in like everything from the new Sylvester Stallone movie Samaritan. He was in Mother's Day with Julia Roberts. He was in Paper Towns. He's been in a ton of stuff. And anyway, so I photographed him
He's a
for
working
like
actor.
Oh yeah, for sure. I photographed him for 10 or 12 years now. Sweet Magnolia is on Netflix. One of the
Okay.
lead characters. It's the three women. One of those women's daughter, the daughter on the show. I've photographed her for about 6 years now, and they just wrapped season 4, so she's in every episode of the show. And so I photographed her for several years. Her name's Annalise Judge, and she actually went to Vegas with me 2 years ago. And Brady Hepner, he was in The Black Phone that was out in theaters like 2 summers ago. And he was in The Holdovers that was out at, if you have not seen The Holdovers with Paul
Okay.
Giamatti, it was out at Thanksgiving this year in theaters. It is a fantastic movie. So he was in The Holdovers, he was in Black Phone. So yeah, Brady's been one of my clients for years. I photographed him since he was like 12 and he's 19 now. So I actually have his old headshots from when he was like 12 still on the website, literally only to piss him off. So I've left those up there because he's like, Jen, can you take those down? I was a kid. I'm like, I know. It's entertaining for me to leave those up.
I just looked up because you said Annalise and you said I took her to Vegas 2 years ago. I'm thinking, wait, was that the girl that we shot that at Obscura when we were at that like vacant hotel?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
Because I was like,
no,
oh crap, that means I got a bunch of pictures of her.
Yeah, she went to Vegas with me for Fusion, so not for Obscura.
That's okay.
So.
Okay, I was like, man, I might have pictures of her, not even realize it. Like, oh crap, I got someone famous. And then just, you know,
yeah, so they, and then Joseph Callender, he was in Tyler Perry's Assisted Living. He's been in Overcomer, one of the Christian brothers that are directors, the Kendrick brothers. They've done a few movies. He's been in those. He was in Christmas in the Pines, which is a Hallmark movie. He's been in a lot of stuff as well. And he's been coming to me for several years too. We actually just updated his headshots. I'll probably post a couple of those tonight. So updated his headshots the other day. So he's awesome. He's a firefighter by trade and an excellent actor. And he is getting snatched up. He is booking stuff constantly. So I expect to see him in much bigger stuff before long. He's been doing really well. So yeah. So, like I said, not huge name actors or anything like that, but definitely working actors. I'm in North Carolina, so it's we have a lot of working actors here. We've got Screen Gem Studio down in Wilmington, and then we're also just a few hours from Atlanta the other way. But I get actors who are in LA, New York, Chicago, who they have family here and they choose to do headshots with me when they're home, as opposed to getting them done in the city they live in, which is awesome. I'm sure a lot of that has to do with me being less expensive than the LA and New York headshot photographers, but I'll take it. It's a lot of fun to work with working actors. So they're comfortable behind the camera and, it's a lot of fun to photograph them. I photographed a few like cheerleaders, like one of my girls was a Jets cheerleader. I just photographed a former Panthers cheerleader for the Carolina Panthers, who is my team, but we suck. And one of the girls that used to be a cheerleader for Charlotte Hornets, the basketball team. And I've got a NASCAR guy. I just did his actor headshots. He's a NASCAR driver. So,
nice.
Because we're in part of NASCAR down here. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I've gotten to meet a lot of really cool people.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much for your time. I mean, we're approaching that 1 hour mark. I told you I'd try to keep it under an hour for you and everything. And we definitely want to value your time. But thank you so much for just being an open book and just sharing all your knowledge and telling us a little bit about more of your journey and how you got to be where you're at today. And 17 years, man. Is there an end goal, or are you just gonna keep going till the wheels fall off? Are you like me in that aspect?
Yeah, so my son works for me now. He just got his degree in business in December, and he's taken over the video part of the business. And I'm going to be teaching him slowly to do things like headshots. So when I'm traveling, he can pick up headshots, things that can't wait for me to come home, that kind of stuff. So I'm going to bring him into the business more and kind of eventually turn everything over to him. But I love shooting, so I don't want to stop until I'm completely broken. So, we'll see how long that takes. But it is nice to have somebody in the family who wants to kind of take it over, and I can, pass it down instead of it just going away. So
that's awesome. I love to hear that. And how old is your oldest now? You say he's getting ready to graduate with his business degree?
He just graduated in December. He's
Okay.
23. And yep, so he just graduated in December with his degree. And so he's killing it already with video. He's doing commercial
Nice.
video and family legacy videos and things like that. And I'm so proud of him. I can already tell the difference between my old brain and his young brain, because he picks things up so quickly as far as like video editing. He's like, oh, I'm like, hey, you should change this around. And he's like, bam, 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 bam. Okay, it's done. And I'm like, it takes me 37 seconds to remember which button I need to hit first. So, and he knocks it out. So he's picking it up really quick. So I really see a good future for him in that. And he's got all the gear. He's got all the gear he could want, lighting, studio, everything is in the studio for him. So I keep reminding him, I'm like, you don't have to do the hard stuff I had to do, as far as like building it up and paying for it all and all that. He gets to just step in, but I'm glad I could do that for him.
Nice. Well, hey, thank you so much for everything. We're gonna list all your social media stuff on the show notes and everything. But where, in the meantime, where can everybody find you at the most?
Yeah, so my website's jennlewis.com. I post on Instagram for like most of my current posts. I post on Instagram. But the biggest thing is if there are questions I can answer, anything like that. Like I said, sales is my jam. My senior average, I mentioned when I started at, my average now is just over $5,600 per senior. So if I can help with, yeah, it's not too bad. So that's why I'm able to take the whole summer off and sit in my pool.
I see that. Yeah, I'm like
years a year. So, but yeah, so they can find me at Photography Education with Jenn Lewis is my Facebook group. So that's the best place to, for photographers to come join the group, Photography Education with Jenn Lewis. And I'm always happy to answer questions and things like that as I can.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much. And I can't wait to see you again. It'll hopefully be sooner rather than later. I know we got some stuff on the pipeline and some traveling. So if I can come across, if I'm in your state, I'm definitely going to come reach out and come see you and visit with you and, break bread and pick your brain as always. So thank you.
That sounds good. I love it.
All right.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being here.
That's it for this week's show. Again, thanks for tuning in. Remember to like, subscribe, and share with others. Leave those reviews and check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Until then, see you next week.